What's going on, everybody? Happy Saturday night to you. Back for another round of trade deadline team reviews, taking a look at some of your rosters, seeing if there's anything we can look for to make some improvements before your trade deadline, whether it's this week, next week, or you don't have one at all. But you guys liked the format last week, so I thought we could run it back. And there's not as much like open-ended stuff to talk about right now anyway. We all kind of know where we stand with a lot of player takes, and there's not a lot left to do except position ourselves for the playoff run. I see lots of you guys in the chat. I see Yellow was first. Scotty Disco was able to pop in this evening. Austin is here. Austin, this is so true. I spent way too much time doing best ball drafts today, and then I was rushing to try to do lesson plans that I didn't finish, that I'm going to have to finish after this. So yeah, playoff best ball is cutting into my schedule right now. And yes, I did get a cut. Schnitz, this call was absolutely insane. So for anybody that doesn't know, in the league winner chat, Schnitz called Ray Davis anytime touchdown for his a prop bet on Thursday Night Football because it was his birthday or something. And of course, he runs back a 97-yard kickoff or punt or whatever it was. So that was kind of a wild call. And he did put real, actual American dollars on it. So that was crazy. All right. Also in the league winner chat, only thing I'm going to get to today before we get into the team reviews, there was a trade that I made. It was the last one that I posted in the trades channel where I sent away Tucker Kraft for Ricky Pearsall in a Superflex PPR tight end premium best ball league. There were mixed reviews to that trade. And we started talking and arguing about Ricky Pearsall and his range of outcomes. Basically, the way I see this is Tucker Kraft obviously isn't helping me the rest of the year. I am currently the 2 seed, just barely, and I'm trying to hold on to that bye week. I'm also trying to obviously win the championship. But yeah, I sent away Kraft, and we love Tucker Kraft. He also suffered a very devastating injury. And so while I think he is a better football player than Ricky Pearsall and ultimately a more valuable dynasty asset at full health, I thought this was a worthwhile trade-off for me, especially in a best ball league with 3 wide receiver spots where you really want to try to fill those spots with, potential spike weeks. And you can't really have too many wide receivers in that format. But as far as Pearsall specifically, I think his range of outcomes right now is pretty favorable, pretty good player to be targeting because he's held, and this was a really good point from Clanger in the Discord, that he has pretty much held the same value for like a year and a half, despite being injured for much of that time, not really giving us a ton to work with in terms of production. He's held that value. He is a former first round pick. He plays with a very sharp offensive mind that can't seem to stop saying really positive things about him. He has been, favorably looked at by reception perception as a guy that is a very strong route runner. He put up 2 100-yard games in the first 4 weeks of the season before he had this PCL sprain. I know he had a goose egg last week. Whatever, first game back from injury. We know how bad that injury was for Brock Bowers. Maybe he came back a week too soon. But I think the range of outcomes is pretty nice for him, especially with this Brandon Ayuk news that he's basically done. Like, Brandon Ayuk is done with this team. He is going to be on a different team next season. So you have the incumbent alpha wide receiver is now not a factor at all. George Kittle's 32 years old. Juwan Jennings has not been that impressive this year, and he's had injury issues of his own. You have this 7 weeks plus whatever we get in the playoffs set up for Pearsall to flash some upside. And even if he doesn't blow up in that time, even if he doesn't go crazy, as long as he's just competent, capable, he's going to enter the offseason as the clear wide receiver 1 for the 49ers. A very good offense, one that's passing more and more because their defense has completely fallen apart. And the upside for Pearsall as a 25-year-old wide receiver who has, like I said, the first round pedigree, he has the offensive mind behind him. He has a pretty fantasy friendly skill set as far as his route running ability, yards after catch ability. The upside for him is pretty huge, I think. At the very least, like, depending on how we get, what kind of run out we get the rest of the season, there's really no reason why he couldn't be valued in the same range as like Zay Flowers, Chris Olave, Brian Thomas, like in that range. Like it's not, I'm not saying that's the most likely outcome. I'm just saying it's not really that hard to picture if he is fully healthy with the schedule that they have, the game scripts that they're faced with, the efficiency that this offense is capable of passing with, and the fact that Kyle Shanahan draws up so many plays for his favorite guys, and that Pearsall seems to be one of those guys. So I do think that the downside here, like the realistic floor outside of a major injury, is for him to be worth like an early to mid second at worst. And I think the upside is that he's worth more than a first round pick. So that's where I would be with Pearsall. He has injury issues. He's been hurt a number of times, and that's totally fair. I still think that there's a potential for him to gain a lot of value, at which point I could just try to flip him for something else, right? All I need is a stretch of production where he's healthy, and I have the flexibility to move him if I'm still concerned about that. And yeah, so I'm happy with the deal. I'm hoping he can come through for me. I'm still not like majorly exposed to Ricky Pearsall. I have him in 3 leagues, but I thought it made sense there, especially because I hadn't gotten a lot of interest in him in that league, in Kraft, I should say, in that league. Okay, I guess I'll answer this question too, since it's from a league winner, and we'll put off the teams for another second here. What will it take for JMO to be taken seriously as a dynasty asset? He has all the tools to be great, and we might see it with no Laporta. I guess I just don't know what it means, like taken seriously as a dynasty asset. I have Jameson Williams in the late first tier, and I'm just not really sure why some people are clamoring for him to be worth more than that. Like, first of all, I don't really agree that he has all the tools. Like, I think he has a pretty limited number of tools, which is why he disappears for long stretches of time, because he has a few tools or skills that he's really good at, and he's not an all-around receiver. But yeah, I mean, he's I just think we kind of know what he is at this point, which is why it's like, why would he be worth more? Yeah, why would he be worth more than a late first, I guess, is the question. Like, even this past game where he had 4 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown, he had like a 16% target share in that game. Like, I just don't really, if you're not going to earn targets consistently, like, you're just going to be a pretty volatile, hard to trust asset. Yeah, what's the difference between what JMO can do? Well, I think the fact that we have Jalen Waddle earning like 30+% target shares in games would be a pretty good indication that he's doing something that Waddle can't, or that JMO can't do. Or even if you think JMO can do it, which I would say, like, I don't think he's all around as good of a route runner as Waddle. Even if you think he can do it, he's not doing it with Amon-Ra St. Brown. And that's just the reality of his situation. He plays with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's going to get a lot of that work. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't really see, like, we saw him do almost nothing for the majority of the season. Now he's put together 2 good games in a row. That doesn't really change anything for me as far as how I view him. At the end of the season, we're going to look back at all of his games, combined, and he's going to be like a 13, 14 points per game wide receiver, which is pretty much what I expected him to be the whole time. Is his immediate upside a little bit higher with Laporta out? Absolutely. But Laporta is going to be back next year. And we already saw what Jameson Williams did in 2024 with a banged up Sam Laporta. The team went right back to the way things were when Laporta was healthy. So I don't really think it's going to change anything long term. Like, if you have Jameson Williams, you've been bailed out by this injury, and I would look to sell high personally, because again, I think we know. I think just we know what he is. Like, he's in his, what is he, in his 4th season now? I just don't think he's going to change all that much as a player. He's not leaving the Lions. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't have much to say on the Jameson Williams thing. We're looking at a guy who on the season has a 15.7% target share. He's being targeted on 16% of his routes. He has under 2 yards per route run in an offense where Amon-Ra St. Brown is at 2.5 yards per route run. Sam Laporta is at 2.14. And then even if you get rid of, you just look at the last 2 weeks, like the yards per route run is higher, 3.14, because he's broken some long plays. Still only an 18.1% target share. Yeah, it's strange to me that people are so high on him, honestly. So I just don't really see a time where I'm going to be with the market on him. What's the lowest you're taking for Swift? I'd be fine trading him for any second. If you're not using him, I'd rather have a second, to be honest. It feels like you should be able to get a mid-second for Swift with how he's produced this year, but I still don't really have a lot of faith in him as a long-term asset, and I would just rather have the flexibility of a second-round pick, even a later one in the offseason, as opposed to Swift, who I think is going to be a bit of a kind of a toxic asset where people aren't going to want to trade for him, which will certainly be in the case in your league where people already don't want to trade for him. So yeah, that's what I'd be looking for. If you're not going to get a second or an asset in that zone, like, can you trade him for Jalen Knoll? Can you trade him? You probably can't get Jaden Higgins at this point, but a younger asset, can you get Bishal Tootin still? If not, I would just hold him. All right. We've waited long enough. We got to get to these team reviews here. So I'm going to get to as many as I can. I'm going to try to be more brief this time. That's not a strong suit that I have, but I'm going to be as brief as I can and get to as many as I can. I'm going to start here with the first one that was submitted from Senior Hyde, longtime member here on the Discord. And I'm going to check out his team. I'm just going to have to jump back and forth here to Discord because I did not compile any notes here. So his team is Team Senior Hyde. Very creative. I'm a contender in this league, feel weak at running back and tight end, trying not to dip into 2027 picks, but have a 26 first to play with. Do I sit pat or try to make some moves? Let's take a look at his. Austin, you had one done last week, so we'll see if I get to yours, but I already reviewed one of your teams. I'm trying to get to people that I have not gotten to. And also, you run basically every decision you make past me in League Winner anyway, so I think you'll be all right. Senior Hyde, he is 16-6. He is currently in the 2 spot, which is nice. Good chance at a bye. Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence at quarterback with Kirk Cousins as well. He's the 3rd, and he's Marcus Mariota too, who might get some more starts this year. Kyron, Kamara, Ramondre. So weak running back room here. Puka, JSN, Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers. Nice looking wide receiver group. David Njoku, Hunter Henry. You have your first. Not a lot else to work with. Yeah, I mean, I do think it would be worth looking to see if you could strengthen running back because Kamara and Ramondre are both pretty uninspiring RB2 options. I'm not a huge Kyron guy, but like he'll get you there. You know, he'll get you to the finish line this year. He's going to get enough volume to be useful. But yeah, the RB2 spot's pretty weak. I don't really care that much about tight end. I didn't check the settings here. It is a heavy tight end premium, 1 point tight end premium. So, you know, it would be nice to have a real difference maker there, but I think you can start Hunter Henry. I will say in a full point tight end premium, I don't really want to have a lot of wide receiver depth because I'd rather be putting tight ends in the flex. It's just so, when you get to like the lower level wide receivers, it's so easy for the tight ends in this format to match that, right? Like a tight end getting 4 catches for 30 yards, 4 catches for 30 yards. That's already 11 points in 1.0 tight end premium. So when you have a guy like Rashid Shaheed, Darnell Mooney, Juwan Jennings, like these guys aren't all that useful, assuming you already have your main wide receiver spots filled out. So honestly, I wouldn't mind looking to just rack up some cheaper tight ends if you can possibly do that. Some of these leagues, people don't value the tight ends correctly. But as far as running backs, you know, going down to these bottom teams, Trey Benson on this rebuilding team could be a sneaky buy low option. You might not even have to add a ton to, well, I guess they're not going to want your other running backs here, but maybe you could offer somebody like Rashid Shaheed, pitch it to them as like, you know, a wide receiver that's already good versus an unknown running back. I don't know if that'll work. You don't have a second, which sucks because that's like the easiest thing to send for a running back at this time of year. But yeah, I would at least check in on Benson. That's an option. I would ask about Woody Marks. This is so tricky because there's not a lot of running backs I would want to send a first round pick for unless you're getting like a legitimate piece. Maybe you could go to the Bucky manager and you could try offering. Man, this is hard. This is a hard team to work with here. Certainly, you got to see if they value Watson, Jennings, Shaheed, Mooney, any of those guys. Those are some pieces that are movable for you. I don't really see any of these teams wanting to take on Kamara or Ramondre. Maybe you could move them. If you're confident in the league being pretty active, you could try moving one of these guys for picks and then using those picks to send to a manager that's looking to move off of running backs. I'm open to suggestions from the chat here. This just feels like a tricky spot where there's just not a lot of liquidity with this roster. Like, I think you could make Flowers available as like maybe a more expendable piece that will carry more value with these non-competitive teams, but isn't necessarily going to move the needle for you that much the rest of the way. You could look to flip him in a deal for Bucky, or you could try to move him for like, you know, Woody Marks with a big plus on top if you can. Maybe get one of these other win now pieces thrown in, like Woody Marks, Travis Kelce in a second or something. Could be a good collection of assets there. Tier down from Zay Flowers to Ricky Pearsall and Woody Marks, maybe. I don't know if people like Flowers enough for that. But yeah, those are some of my initial thoughts. The good news is, even if you can't do that, I think you have a good enough team here with Hurts, Puka, JSN, Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers, Kyron Williams. Like, you have enough pieces here to get it done regardless. But those are some of the guys I'd look at and some potential trade opportunities. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at Austin's team real quick, where he is 5-6. 5-6, ranks first in value. Thinking I'd missed the playoffs a few weeks ago, I traded Achane for Hampton, Rice and Javonte for Bucky, Hunter, and the 105, 106. Now I'm 5-6 and favored by 20. Likely need to win out to make playoffs. Let's take a look at this team. Mahomes, Herbert, Hampton, Bucky, Henderson, Kareem Hunt, Tony Pollard, Neighbors, McMillan, Hunter, Flowers, Brandon Ayuk, Jonah, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I just don't really think I would try to make the playoffs here. I don't know if that's maybe not a fun answer. Let me just double check the settings here. What are we looking at here? Full PPR, regular tight end. Okay, regular tight end premium settings. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess if you were to get in Mahomes, Herbert, and you have these guys at back healthy, Mahomes, Herbert, Hampton, Irving, Henderson, I mean, it's just the wide receivers that are killing you right now. Do you have a good chance to win this week? I guess would be my first question. I don't know if you have a good chance to win this week. I think because it's just such a time crunch to try to get a deal done. But if you have a chance to win this week, I think it would be worth looking at. Just can you buy one good wide receiver? I think that's the only thing. That's really the only thing I think you need to do on this team. Like, you can start McMillan and Zay Flowers the rest of the way. McMillan has a bye in week 14 that you should be aware of, but like, the rest of this team is good to go. So I would go look at, okay, like Alec Pierce. This is such a high value roster. Like, I really would be fine. Well, you have a pretty early looking second here, but could you send Brandon Ayuk for Alec Pierce right now? That would be a deal I would look at. I would do that trade. Could you buy Ricky Pearsall coming off a bad game? Could you trade, like, I mean, I would use Ayuk again as a piece, like Ayuk and a second for Pearsall and a third or something along those lines. But yeah, I would look at Pearsall. I would look at Alec Pierce. Yeah, you could move. What about Shuck? Oh yeah, he has Shuck. Okay. I forgot Herbert was on bye actually. But yeah. You could even try to make like a big move for George Pickens. If you wanted to pay up, you could try to move like Travis Hunter and a second for George Pickens. Again, if you think you have a decent chance to win these matchups and get in the playoffs, it's worth giving yourself another chance to win some money, because this team, like, at full health is as good as any other team in the league, and you have a lot of surplus value. So it's like you're not going to hamstring your roster long term if you pay like 25% more for a wide receiver than you would otherwise think. But yeah, you don't really need to make any other moves here. I would just look at some of those bad teams, see what they would want for their wide receivers. Again, if you have a win mostly locked this week, maybe just wait and see if you win this week. And if you do, then you have all of next week to try to navigate a deal for a good wide receiver. All right, we've got a league from Joe Fest. Who says, super borderline playoff team, thinking of buying some cheap vets and seeing if I can get lucky in the playoffs. His team is right here. Very mature team name. He is 9-13. So yeah, very borderline. This is a bigger league though, 14-team league. So does that mean 8 teams make the playoffs? I don't actually know how that works. You can't have 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's 8th right now. I'm guessing it's an 8-team playoff and nobody gets a bye. He's got the second most valuable team apparently. May and Daniels, Tyrod, Genty, Dobbins, Vidal, Egbuka, Hunter, Pittman, Pearsall, Theo. No. All right. This is an easy one, Joe Fest. This team is not making a run this year, okay? It's just not, it's not your year. Like, I'm very skeptical that Daniels is going to be back, and even if he is, I think he's going to struggle. Genty is not giving you the top tier production yet that we want because the situation's so bad. Egbuka, Pittman, Pearsall is just not that strong of a wide receiver group. Loveland isn't doing the thing yet. Like, this team is a year away, I think. You're going to want to add some rookies to this team. Let some of these guys improve naturally year over year. Like, Daniels is going to be better next year. Genty's going to be better next year. Loveland, I think, is going to be better next year. And then you have this first round pick, which is unfortunately a playoff team, it looks like, but hopefully an early exit, and you get another top 7, top 8 rookie mixed in there. And then you also have this second round pick from Scotty Wins, which is going to be very early. So you're going to get to add a couple of nice rookie shots here. So I think just be patient. I would not be expending any extra value on veterans right now. All right. Jared Shue is next. Member in the potential superstar tier. Not somebody I've seen in the chat a whole lot. But he said, team name is Jared Shue. Startup was last year. I won the championship. Congrats. Feels like I'm underperforming. Best offer for neighbors I have is Rome and Kenneth Walker. Not going to do it for me. Traded minimal capital recently for Rogers and Tracy, 3rd and a 4th. Nothing needle moving. Okay. Don't you have your first this year? So Jared Shue is sitting at 6 and 5. He's in 3rd. We have Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, Bryce Young, Aaron Rodgers. That quarterback room makes me want to vomit. Breece Hall, DeAndre Swift, Zach Charbonnet, Kyle Monangai, Tyron Tracy, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors, Jordan Addison, Rashid Shaheed, Parker Washington, Aronde Gadsden, Jake Ferguson, Juwan Johnson. Okay. This is a 12-team start 9 league. It is half PPR. Makes it a little bit less fun. Makes it a little less fun that you have a lot of your value tied up in wide receiver, 5-point passing touchdowns, no tight end premium. So doesn't really help to have all these dudes. I would look, Jared, I'd be looking to move these extra tight ends for any kind of draft pick value or upgrades at other positions, because like half PPR, non-tight end premium, the tight ends just suck. Like, you'd never want to flex a tight end really, and even the ones that you start, like, they're just not scoring that many points. So I'd want to roll with Gadsden, and then, you know, maybe even just Theo Johnson or Juwan, whoever you get the least back for. And I would try to move Jake Ferguson. I would try to move one of these other guys if you can for some pick value or for an upgrade. Where you could upgrade, I think you could certainly look to improve on your quarterback position. And I do like to have high scoring quarterbacks in half PPR because the gap in quarterback production versus other positions is wider. So having that steady floor and high ceiling at quarterback is maybe a little bit more valuable. I don't really know which quarterbacks would be great targets. Like I wish you had Jacoby Brissett on this team. Honestly, he'd be a better guy to have than even Aaron Rodgers at this point. But you could shop around for a quarterback and you could try to consolidate a little bit of depth. Again, maybe move one of these tight ends, maybe move someone like Kyle Monangai. As far as neighbors, like, you're just not getting a lot of interest in neighbors. Like, yeah, I mean, it sucks. Like, if you can't go to somebody like this Amon-Ra St. Brown manager, or there's not a lot of other assets here. Like, I feel like this stuff always gets turned down, but like, why wouldn't this 4 and 7 manager listen to a deal, neighbors plus something for Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Like, move the value from running back into a wide receiver that's more insulated. I know people don't act rationally, but like, that's the type of deal that should be a win-win. that you could look at. This is the team that offered you for Malik Neighbors. Maybe they would give you McMillan instead of Odunze. Would they give you McMillan and Kenneth Walker? Because I'd be much more inclined to take that, especially in a half PPR league. McMillan and Kenneth Walker would be a more interesting return to me. So, yeah. So I think ultimately with this team, like there's really one really great team and everyone else is pretty flawed. So at the end of the day, if you can't really get much done, you can just get in the playoffs, hope you get lucky. Maybe someone else eliminates that team and you have enough weekly upside in Chase and Jefferson, and even Nix is capable of sealing games. Breece Hall is capable. So you could be in a worse spot. I think my biggest concern here is just that you have 4 quarterbacks, and I think 3 of them have some serious risk associated. I mean, Rodgers is done after this year, and I'm not really even sure why you needed him because you have 3 guys, but Bryce is code red for me. I'd be trying to flip him if possible. And then McCarthy is getting close to that with how poor he's been. So yeah, that would actually be my main priority, is seeing what you can do with those quarterbacks and if there's any interest. Nico, I did not answer the stream about the question about 26 picks. I'm going to have to pin that for later. I really haven't looked into the class very much yet. It's something I typically do more after the season. We'll see if I have time to do it a little bit earlier this year. But I just can't really comment yet on the quality of the class in general and whether we want to be moving first. I will say I did read a recent article from Jacob Sanderson. He was talking about trades at the deadline and how he's actually making more win now moves this year because the way he sees it, like if he's going to be rebuilding either this year or next year, he would rather be rebuilding next year and collecting 2027 picks because he thinks market-wise they're just going to hold a lot more value at the time than 26 picks currently do. And I think there's definitely some validity to that. There's a lot more like brand equity and excitement. I don't know that those 2 classes are going to yield like wildly different results in when it's all said and done, but I think there's something to be said for the hype that surrounds the 27 class and how that's going to impact the flexibility of those picks and the return you can get for them on the market. So that might be something to consider. I'll certainly try to address it later on once I know more. But in general, like I think all picks, even the 2026 picks that you can acquire right now, are still going to gain value. We basically never see a class be so bad, so underwhelming that the picks are less desirable leading up to the draft. So I think you're still fine to be adding those picks, investing in them. I don't think you'll have any trouble moving them later on. But yeah, the relative strength of the class is definitely something I'm just not as up to date on, and I'll be eager to learn about. All right. Let's take a look at HM's team, whose team name is Dope Lean Belly Baby. Can't believe I had to say that on a stream. He's right down here, 6-5. Number 1 value team, number 2 starter rank. Maybe you should try winning some games. Half PPR, non-tight end premium, nasty, terrible, gross settings. Went into the year as a strong contender, absolutely destroyed by injuries. Don't have my first, likely to make the playoffs. How much future value should I be willing to give up to get contending pieces? Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, we got May and Hurts and McCarthy, Genty, Bucky, Scadaboo, Tootin, Lamb, Rice, Adams, Hunter, Franklin, Jennings, Kraft, Schultz, Theo Johnson. This is only a start 9 league. So you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, I think my answer here is you don't really need to buy anything. Bucky is now sounding like he's going to come back next week. So I'm going to just cross my fingers on that one. You've got May, Hurts, Genty, Lamb, Rice, Adams locked in. Schultz has been totally fine. I'm totally fine punting tight end in half PPR tight end, non-tight end premium. And then you have Troy Franklin as an option. You have Jawan Jennings as an option. And unironically, like Baishal Tutin could emerge as a legitimate starting option, even if he's not a league-winning type. That backfield in Jacksonville, 50% of that backfield is startable in half PPR. So my answer is you don't have to do anything. If I was going to move one of these players, I would not move Hunter right now. I'd be fine shopping Scatterboo because I think there are some people that are really high on him relative to like the risk surrounding his injury. For example, I was able to move Scatterboo and Harold Fannin for George Pickens the other day. So yeah, like Dynasty Domain I know is really high on him. And so this guy's name literally has Scatterboo in it. I know he's a contender, but like, can you get Rico Dowdle and a 2027 second for Scatterboo? Because, or even anything even close to that, like maybe that's too unrealistic, but like that would give you a really good starter in half PPR and get you a pick to kind of backfill that upside. If you could send like Scatterboo and I don't know, Kyle Williams and a third or something, maybe that's too much, for Dowdle and a 27 second, something like that would be a nice move for you. But otherwise, this team is pretty good to go to roll into the playoffs. And I don't think you need to be too stressed about it. All right, league winner here, whose name is just a bunch of letters. I don't really know if there's a way I'm supposed to pronounce this, but RCRSXYZ is the gentleman in question. We're going to put in his league ID. Oops. All right, this is a smaller looking league. I was looking at making a move for Jefferson or Rice as the owner signaled he'd be open to moving them. I'd be looking at giving up Hendo plus Rome for one of them plus draft capital. I would not do that unless you're getting a ton of draft capital back. Want to retain the best ability to compete next year. Don't want to get locked in on making a move. Yeah. So your team here, right down here, 3 and 8. Okay. I definitely wouldn't want to do it at 3 and 8. So this is a weird one. 10 teams, start 8. Half PPR, non-tight end premium. So this is a very shallow league. There's only 80 starters every week. And one of I think the most important things to understand in that, especially in half PPR, is that the elite running backs are going to be extremely sought after commodities. So I would want to keep Hampton and Henderson in this format because those running backs are going to be hard to come by. I like the idea of adding a Jefferson or a Rice type of guy, but I don't think it's the right time for you to do it on this team. Honestly, what I'd be looking at on this team, knowing you're not winning this year, can you sell Daniel Jones at peak value? Can you add like a 2027 first in return for Daniel Jones? Can you capitalize on like Kyle Monangai hype to get a future second? What can you still get for Ramondre Stevenson? What can you get for Kamani Vidal? Like, I don't know what. I'm confused why you'd even still have Kamani Vidal in this team, honestly. Like, just, you don't need the points. Surely somebody could have used a high upside handcuff over these last several weeks. Jacoby Brissett should be gone for hopefully a third, but a fourth if you can get it. Kamani Vidal should be gone for a third round pick. It feels like you should be able to get that. Kyle Monangai, again, sell him for a second. That's what I'd be doing on this team. And then Dallas Goedert, like, I'd be shopping these veterans that are producing right now or guys that are riskier. I wouldn't be trying to consolidate just yet because I don't think you have quite enough value stored up to make that type of move. But with the 2 first-round picks, especially yours looking pretty early, maybe you can get that to the 101. You have a few more weeks to try to do that. That's what's going to put you in a good spot for 2026. All right, Ryan Hostetler. That's a name that's a little easier for me to say. All right, let's take a look at Ryan's team. He is Ryan Host 03, full PPR, 1.0, tight end premium, solid team, good wide receiver and tight end room, mid at running back, looking to upgrade to a better running back. I don't have a lot of picks, but should I look to consolidate and make a move or just stick with my running back room? All right. Let's take a look. He's 15-7, fourth seed right now. Overall rank of 7th in value. So pretty average team in terms of value. So we want to be careful about what kind of moves we're making. But he has Hurts and Dak, no backup quarterback that's currently starting. He has Walker, Marks, Benson at running back. Really good wide receivers, at least the first 3. Great top tight end. So very top-heavy team. Yeah, I mean, the running backs aren't phenomenal, but I don't think that they are a disaster either. This is a start 11 league though, so you do need the fact that you don't have any depth is definitely hurting you a little bit. I think, Walker, Marks, Benson, Jones, those 4 guys are going to be startable in the fantasy playoffs, assuming they're healthy. That's 4 guys. You have 3 wide receivers, 7. Bowers makes 8. Hurts, Prescott, 9, 10. You're looking at starting somebody like Isaiah Likely, David Njoku, Michael Wilson. That's a little bit rough. At the same time, I would not want to be sacrificing future value on this team because you're right there in the middle. And I don't think there's anybody you're going to be able to add that's going to really change your win expectation all that much. So I think, honestly, I think the best move on this team might be to not make a move. We've seen some indication that Kenneth Walker could be getting a more favorable workload. We'll see. Woody Marks is on the rise. Trey Benson has upside as well. So I think these guys might just be good enough. You're going to have to survive the London injury. Hopefully that's short term. But again, I don't think you're in a good spot to be giving up a lot more future value. So I would be content to ride this out and just see what happens and know that you're starting over again next year with a really, really good core. And hopefully you can, continue to build around that group. All right, Doc Birdie. His question is, just trying to flex. I don't think I should do anything, but if you see something, I'm all ears. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm not going to spend long on this one, buddy. Just trying to flex on us. Let's see what he's got right here. Top of the league, 11-0. Starters are in first. Lamar, Dak, Tua, Bijan, JT, Taylor, McCaffrey, Barkley. Okay, this team's going to be rebuilding next year. He's got no first this year or next year. Okay. So he sold his soul for this team. Still has a mid wide receiver room, by the way. Yeah, I mean, enjoy your championship and then enjoy your probably 2-year rebuild because I don't know what you're going to do next year when McCaffrey and Barkley are worth less. Adams and Diggs could drop off the face of the earth. You don't have a first round pick that you can tank for. Yeah, I don't know what you should do with this team, really. I think you just hope and pray that you win this year so that your buy-ins for the next couple years are all paid for. I think that's the move. All right. I'm going to go a little out of order here and make sure I get Jabulani's team on the stream because he was one of the ones that I missed for last week's. So let me get his in and then I'll see how many more I can do. Got 4 league winners queued up here as well. So Jabulani's got a deadline in 2 weeks. He says he's got by far the worst team, but he has the 101 and 2 other picks in the top 6. And he has 5 firsts next year and probably the 101 in 2028. Okay. What would be smart? Try to trade away Aaron Jones and Diggs, but nobody wants them. That's crazy. Nobody wants them? How could, like, are you just asking too much? Like, how could nobody want them? That's crazy. All right, here he is at the bottom. Pretty future-focused team other than Kirk Cousins, Aaron Jones, and Steph Diggs, and David Njoku. He has basically no players. So this is probably a 2-year rebuild just because there's like no players on this team. You're going to want to draft a ton of rookies next year and just kind of hope that those guys can hit. But yeah, you've got a lot of value tied up in the 2027 class. And by the time that conveys, you'll absolutely have the buying power you need to build a really, really strong roster. But yeah, as far as these other pieces, like, I don't know. I guess it's weird to me that somebody wouldn't want these guys. Like, this team is starting Kyle Monangai. Like, he doesn't want Aaron Jones. I guess he doesn't have a lot to offer you for Aaron Jones. This team is actually really sad to look at. That's pretty rough. Like, I'd move Aaron Jones for like Christian Watson or something if you can't get a pick. Let's see if one of these other teams has more of a need. Yeah, I can see it's a very top heavy league. Like, it's very bifurcated between the contenders and the non-contenders. So there just might not be any natural trade partners here. But like, this team's very, very thin at running back in terms of healthy guys. I would happily take like an early 3rd round pick. Maybe you could get a 3rd and a 4th round pick for him. Can you get Tajay Spears thrown in for Aaron Jones? That could make some sense. Yeah, I can see why it's a challenge in this format. So there might not be a lot of logical moves. Even like, I don't know, take a shot on like a Chim DK here as a depth piece. Like, seems like that manager should be receptive to that. And then Diggs is a little bit of a different case. He's really been coming on lately. Hopefully he can put another good game up this week, and maybe that'll start to change people's minds. But he should garner at least like a mid-second round pick worth of interest. Surely somebody needs to start a wide receiver. Maybe one of these fringe teams. I don't know. These guys like all have a bunch. They do all have a bunch of guys that they can use. But yeah, I'd be looking at like a mid-second round pick in return for Diggs. I guess if you really can't get any interest, I'd probably sell him at the deadline for any 2nd round pick. I wouldn't go lower than that because I think the odds that he's just back next year and decent are better than just like taking a 3rd for him. But yeah, it is definitely strange. It's a weird league. But yeah, you're in a good position for the future. So at worst, stay the course. It's okay if you lose a couple of these veterans and don't get much for them. In the long run, you're not going to sweat that with the amount of value that you have. I think you typed something wrong here, but I assume you were offered Ellick and a 3rd for Wandale and a 4th. If you don't need Wandale, then yeah, I would trade for Io Manor. You get the better pick and the upside is on that side. So I would just take Io Manor, even if he's not looking that exciting at this moment. 10-team league, start 10. Mission Aviat has a team here with Lamar and Stroud and Henderson and Benson and a bunch of really good wide receivers and Colson Loveland. He's out for this year. He's 4-7. Struggling figuring out how to tear down. Have an offer of CD, Shakir, and Hendo for Bijan and Ricky. Okay, well, he already took that deal. So What was the deal again? CD, Shakir, and Hendo for Bijan. Okay, well, that's a great move. That's a fantastic move. You get Lamb and Henderson and Shakir, who I don't really care about, though, for Bijan and Ricky Pearsall. Yeah, I think the gap between Henderson and Pearsall is a lot bigger than the gap between Lamb and Bijan. So that's a great trade. I don't think there's a lot you have to do here. Like, there's only a few weeks left, so maybe you can get ahead of this team that's at the bottom of the standings, but I don't think you need to do a whole lot. I would probably try to see if you can sell high on Sean Tucker. He's going to get one more good start this week. Maybe you can get a trade in last minute. Maybe you can move Juwan Jennings to somebody. Maybe you can move him with something else for a future second, like Jennings and Tucker for a 27 second. Something like that could be a nice move for you. But otherwise, I think you're pretty set here. Like, you've got your 102 pick locked up. You have a lot of really good pieces to come in next year and compete again. See if someone wants Shakir, Jennings, Godwin. Don't be afraid to sell a little bit low on guys that can lose value in the offseason, but otherwise I think you're chilling. All right. APN Lunchbox, another league winner. Also an Isaiah Bond stan for some reason. Maybe he's a James Bond stan. I don't know. He's got the most valuable team in this league, but he is 6-4, and Dynasty Daddy thinks he's a fraud. And I can see why. He's got May, Dart, Penix, Henderson, Marks. Excuse me. Hunter, Burden, Ayuk. Okay. Yeah, the wide receivers are a problem. Bowers, Warren, Loveland. Yeah, dude, you might need some wide receivers. Mid-season startup around week 5. Clearly a retool for next year, but find myself in a wild card spot accidentally, trying to shed points to secure better draft capital, but tight-roping the line of taking slight value losses to do so. Currently 6th in max points 4, but 3 teams behind me are still going for it. Yeah, this is a tricky spot to be in. It looks like a lot of the pieces that are scoring for you are all young guys. I mean, you don't really have any veterans. It helps that Dart's out this week for you. I would try to move Monungai. I just don't think he's just a rookie that I don't think has like a ton of security or long-term upside, but he is kind of flex worthy right now. So he's the guy I would look to move. You can drop Parker Washington. His points are just unnecessary on your team. Same thing with Emmanuel Wilson. If you can't flip him for like a 4th round pick, I would just drop him as opposed to having him score. Like, the max points matter at this point in the year. If it's that close of a margin for you, you don't want Emmanuel Wilson on your team scoring points. Maybe you could try to sell like Drake May for Jaden Daniels and some picks. Get like a nice profit there and also shed the points. I think that's a reasonable type of move. But otherwise, there's just not a lot to sell here that I think you're going to get fair value for. So you might just have to live with the fact that your roster's too good. Oh, and Woody Marks, I mean, he already played this week. He would be a player I would sell high on too if you can. He has taken over the backfield. He's going to score points. I don't know where his value is going to land in the offseason. I don't know how safe he is long-term. He's a 24-year-old rookie running back who was drafted in round 4. I'd probably try to sell high on that guy. See if you can get an early second. But if you have to take like a random 27 second, I don't think that's a bad move. Maybe you can get a 2nd and a 3rd. But those would be, running backs are typically the more volatile assets. So those are the guys I'd look at trading. All right, Shift is up. And I actually did a breakdown on this team, but apparently a lot of my trade ideas did not work out. So let's take a look. Chat got super quiet, by the way. Are you guys still awake over there? if you're still out there, let me know. Like, give me a little boost to get through a few more of these teams before we close it out. Shift has Team Magum in this league right here, 8-14. He's clearly looking at next season in this 12 teams start 10 half PPR league with 5-point passing touchdowns, half-point tight end premium. He's got Burrow, Lawrence, McCarthy, Hampton, Charbonnet, Sampson. He's got Nico, McMillan, Addison, DJ Moore. Gross, DJ Moore. Tried doing 2-for-1s for a quarterback upgrade, but we're all too far apart. Had some teams that reached out about Bowers and Nico. Not sure if I should be considering selling them or looking for JJ McCarthy plus Lawrence for a quarterback upgrade. Yeah, I don't know. This is tough. Like, when people just won't pay for your players, it's often better to not sell low and just be patient, because sometimes your perceptions are going to wildly change. Like, I've had situations where I tried to sell players for weeks, and then all of a sudden their outlooks like completely flip, and I'm like, oh wow, I'm really glad that I kept this player. So, you know, it looks bad for McCarthy right now. Maybe people not buying him will end up being, you know, a positive thing for you. I'll say DJ Moore is a guy I would love to get rid of. If you can get even late second value, if you could package DJ Moore with Trey Tucker for a second, I would do that. You know, TJ Hawkinson, I would sell for a second, but his value is kind of down right now. There just might not be a lot of pieces that you can move at the moment because they have such bad brand equity. But Trevor Lawrence is going to be a starter next year. JJ McCarthy will probably still be a starter next year. I guess we'll see. How things go. Nico, you can shop. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing if you can get a really good return for him in a half PPR league. But I would be looking for, you know, about 2 firsts, especially if one of them is a playoff first. I don't think I'd be trying to move Bowers on this team. I think you want to keep Bowers, you want to keep Hampton, you want to keep Burrow. Yeah, see, like, I've been in this spot for sure where you just can't get anybody to want your pieces because their teams don't need them, because their brand is just so tarnished. I don't think there's anything to be gained from just selling low on these players. So I think if it's just not happening right now, it's just not happening. And I think you just have to kind of, you know, make your peace with that for now. Hopefully you can use some of these rookie picks, add some nice pieces around these guys. Burrow, Hampton, Nico, McMillan, Bowers, Addison. Like, you've got a good foundation here. There's no reason this team can't compete in the future. And maybe DJ Moore goes to a new team and he's better, or you know, maybe JJ McCarthy does turn things around. If not, you know, it's not like you had the option to sell them and you didn't. So you just kind of have to, it's frustrating, but you just kind of have to hope for the best. If they have a good game, you need to, you know, you just kind of renew your efforts and try again, or see if you can sneak one of them into a deal with another asset to get fair value for them. I would just rather trade for picks, personally, in this situation, because you can always turn the picks back into players later. So I find it's just easier to go for the picks. If that's not working, then you could start exploring some tear downs, but I certainly would not want to move him without getting a first back. So like, it could be a first plus a player. I don't know exactly which player would be the best, but I wouldn't want to do it without getting at least a first round pick. All right. Let's take a look at R. Lee 3. One quarterback enjoyer. Gross. Team name Broken Phone Screens. 2-9 team. This is a one quarterback league. Start 8. A lot of weird bonuses going on. There is a tight end premium. Full PPR, tight end premium, one quarterback. All right. One quarterback and tight end premium is a combo I don't see a lot. Hard rebuild, 5 firsts in the draft. Debating moving picks for Tet along with moving up to the 102. I mean, I'd love the idea of getting McMillan. I don't know what the price is because you didn't mention that. But yeah, I'd be interested in getting McMillan on this team. Not Jalen McMillan. Tedero McMillan on this 0-11 team. What could you offer for him? Let me just look again at your assets here. You don't have a lot to build around next year. Maybe Bishal Tutin's a guy. CJ Stroud, whatever, one quarterback league. He'll do for now. Maybe Jaden Higgins is a starter. Rondé Gadsden. This team's probably rebuilding again next year, unfortunately, because it's a start 8, which means depth isn't going to get you very far. Not that you have depth, but like you need legit dudes. Like this team has Taylor, Judkins, Chase, JSN, Rome, Kittle. Like you're not going to hit, even if you hit on everybody in this rookie class, you're still not going to have the pieces. So this is a 2-year rebuild, which means when you're getting up on the clock in this draft, the biggest thing I think you can do is try to turn 2026 capital into 2027 and just try to gain some extra value that way. Like later first, if you can flip them for random 2027 firsts, I would do that. Even 2028 picks with a plus on top, I think you should do that. Can you sell Tyler Algier to the Bijan manager for a profit? Maybe. So I don't know if you need to be trying to buy a player like McMillan right now because you can't really consolidate multiple of these picks. You need like as many shots as you can possibly get. If you think it's a great value that's like way below what the rankings would say, then yeah, you should trade for him. But yeah, if it's like a fair market deal for McMillan, I would just pass for now because you just don't have... You're not in a spot to be consolidating. You need like as many shots, as many bites at the apple as you can get. And hopefully you hit big on multiple players. You know, you find next year's Emeka Egbuka and Tyler Warren, you know, and Trevion Henderson in that class. All right. We got another league winner here. Voshman 18. I'm just going to be real, guys. I probably only have like 2 of these left in me for tonight. Voshi is 9-13. He is looking at a 12 team, half PPR, full point tight end premium. So that's interesting. Very, very heavy on tight ends. Rebuilding the last 2 years. This season, I think he was trying to say he was playing to compete. Injuries hit me hard. I have solid cornerstones at each position. Looking to improve flex/depth or consolidate and upgrade. Considering a trade, sending Pittman/Benson/pick for Garrett Wilson, or maybe shipping a second to acquire another running back. I would not be shipping a second right now to acquire a running back. You just don't need to be putting your team in that position. You also have plenty of running backs here. You have Daniels and Mahomes, Genty, Hampton, Jamar, Gadsden, Harrison. I mean, you have pieces here. You got Luther Burden. Love that. Yeah. Half PPR. Yeah. I would move Benson. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely want to shop Benson. I'd want to sell Vidal. Oh my gosh, Vidal or Emmanuel Wilson if you can for anything in the spot start. I would want to move Mariota for anything, 4th round pick, whatever. Yeah, Benson and Pittman for Garrett Wilson would be a nice deal if you could pull that off. But honestly, if anything, I'd want to be putting value into tight ends. I think you've got some pieces here that are expendable. Harvey and Benson and Pittman and even Marv to an extent. If you could go and get in on a young tight end, like even like buying a Colston Loveland before his value really takes off, because in this format he could be a really, really valuable piece. I don't know if this guy's contending necessarily, but like, yeah, that would be tempting. I would love Terrence Ferguson as like a sneaky buy in this league. Just looking around at who has these tight ends. Buying low on Tucker Kraft from this competing team. I think it makes a lot of sense to try to take that risk on Tucker Kraft here because the upside is just so high. So those are some places I would look. And this guy could actually use a wide receiver. Like if you could send him Pittman and something, maybe Pittman and Benson for Tucker Kraft and I don't know, a third and a fourth. Maybe you could get even more. But yeah, that would be interesting to me. Overall, would not go and try to buy running backs right now. It just doesn't make sense on a rebuild. You can buy them later. And I don't think you have that much. I mean, you could consolidate a little bit, like you said, with Benson and Pittman. But for the most part, I'd actually be just looking to add tight ends or see if you can get a first round pick. It kind of sucks that you don't have a first round pick on this team. If you could get a first for some of these pieces, maybe package up a couple pieces. Maybe you could move Harvey for a first if he comes out and has a good game after the bye. That's more in line with what I'd be trying to do. Chris Sains with a $1.99 donation. Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning into the stream. If you had I don't know if you had a question or something to attach to that, but feel free to send in another chat message if there was something that you wanted me to comment on. But either way, I appreciate that. That is always greatly appreciated. Anything on top is pretty helpful. All right. I'm going to finish up the team reviews here with DRV's team. Last one for the night. We've got first year league. Not sure what to do with my light running back room. I have an offer to sell Burden and Shuck for a late one. All right, well, I'll pass on that. This is a 12-team PPR half-point tight end premium. I wouldn't sell Burden right now. Just there's far too much positive inertia behind his value right now and his role that I would just rather hold him. We're looking at a 13-9 record here, just at the edge of the playoffs. Hey, Alnostra Thomas, that's my boy. I know that guy. Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, Tyler Shuck, Woody Marks, JCM. Yeah, terrible running backs, if we're being honest. Puka, Lamb, McMillan, McConkey, Burden is very fun in the wide receiver room. Fannin and Joku. So Fannin's a guy I think you could try to sell high on in this format. I know he's not coming off the best stretch of games, but maybe you could package him with someone like Monungai for a running back. Maybe there's somebody down here that has a better running back. I think one guy I would look at is Bishal Tutin. Just, that's not really the type of trade I was talking about just now, but he's kind of an interesting player that's like maybe not super expensive, but I think could produce for you later on. Kenneth Walker also makes sense. Fannin plus something small. Fannin plus a third. Should be in the ballpark in most leagues. Again, maybe this team that's kind of out of the mix, what would they want on top of Fannin for Derrick Henry? Does Fannin plus Monungai get you Derrick Henry and something? Possibly. There's not a ton of options for running backs on these bad teams, but those are the ones I guess I would look at. Maybe some of these other teams are willing to drop out of the race. I don't know, but even they don't really have very good players. So unless you can make a big move for like a Bucky Irving or, like I said, Derrick Henry, maybe James Cook, Kenneth Walker, you might be kind of cooked. One other thing though, you could look at this team right here that has Ashton Genty. I wonder right now with the bad performances he's put up, right? If you were to start with Ladd, like Ladd and Fannin, something like that, see how close that gets you to Ashton Genty, because his value is so, it's down a bit, right, from where it was. The hype is not really very strong right now. It could be a great buy low moment on him, and he's obviously a player that has a lot of value installation long term. I think he's going to gain value at some point. So that would be a big swing you could look at. Otherwise, you're just kind of crossing your fingers and hoping for the best here and hoping the wide receivers can carry you. Chris, I see this finally came through. Rebuild mode. Do I trade T. Higgins in a third for Charbonnet and a 2026 first in the 105 to 108 range? I would do that. Absolutely. I would do that very easily. That top 8 first is going to carry a lot of value, and it might not feel as exciting right now, but by the time we get to March, April, that pick is going to be very, very exciting. You think about this past class, right? How eager people were to draft Trevion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Tyler Warren. That's the range of the draft you're looking at. Higgins is going to be 27. He's coming off of a, kind of a meh season. Like, he's not going to be viewed that favorably. You think about Jalen Waddle coming into this offseason. It was like a late 7th round startup pick. I know he had a worse quarterback situation, but you also get Charbonnet, who is kind of a fun throw-in option in trades right now, because there's a very decent chance the Seahawks let Kenneth Walker leave in free agency, which would put Charbonnet in that lead back role, depending on what they do at the position elsewhere. So Charbonnet to me is worth like a mid to late second and is a pretty nice piece for a rebuilding team to add. And then the pick itself, I think, is worth at least as much as T. Higgins. Cap, my preference is probably week 13 or 14. I used to be staunchly anti-trade deadline, and then I read an article Jacob Sanderson put on his Substack, and I realized that I was just so wrong about trade deadlines and how they work. And how like not having a trade deadline actually kind of can kill league activity throughout a lot of the season, and it kind of changes like the incentive structure that you have, where everybody is kind of incentivized to play win now mode and then just like try to flip their pieces to the other contending teams whenever they get knocked out. And it kind of punishes rebuilders, because a lot of the best players are going to be on teams that get knocked out early in the playoffs, and then they're going to trade they're just going to be able to trade their players to the other contenders, and then the rebuilders kind of get screwed. So I like week 13, week 14 for the deadline. You don't have to prepare so far in advance that you get hit with a lot of unknown information, but you do have to have like some depth, some reserve options, and you have to kind of call your shot whether you're in or out. I think that is kind of a nice touch with the trade deadline. Anything earlier than that, though, is annoying to me. I don't like week 12. I definitely don't like week 11 for the trade deadline. It's just too early for me. I want to know as much as I can possibly know about how the season's going to end, who's healthy, who's playing, all that stuff. Nico, I would sell Fannin for that in that league, even with the heavy premium, but that's just me. All right, guys, this has been fun. Hopefully my suggestions lead to something useful for you. If I couldn't get to your team, I apologize. But as always, appreciate you guys hanging out and being active in the chat. Hopefully you guys can win your week 12 matchups, get yourself in position to earn some bye weeks or at least make the playoffs. And yeah, we'll see what happens from there. Talk to you guys soon.